At this point, we know Sony has a bit of a reputation for getting a little wild or really just stupid with their plans for their Spider-Man characters because I mean what they're doing with the Spider-Verse films, those animated films are fantastic. What they're doing with Tom Holland is mostly good for the most part, mainly because it's co-produced by Marvel Studios, so that's probably why it's actually good. But then you've got what Sony is doing on their own with Venom and Morbius and Kraven the Hunter and the upcoming Madam Web and El Muerto and Hypno Hustler and all that stuff that we don't want. But they're still gonna keep doing it, and looks like they're going even deeper into this as well. Um, no, like I said, nobody wants this, so it makes zero sense. Like, if you want to give us these villains in live action, if you want to give us a Sinister Six, do it in Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies, or even worse than that, like, if like you could connect them, they don't have to be separate universes. Just do a Kraven the Hunter movie, okay, fine, but have it be set in the MCU. Like, that would be the easy way of doing things, but whatever. Today we have a new report coming from Caden Reed that Sony is developing a Doctor Octopus movie and a Mysterio movie. So let's talk about this. First of all, let's talk about Mysterio. So it's specifically stated by Caden Reed that this would not be Jake Gyllenhaal. So again, it would not be connected to the MCU. It would not be MC Mysterio, even though it would be so easy to say that that guy is still alive, but whatever. So a new version of Mysterio, a new Quentin Beck, would be getting his own movie in the Sony universe, which, I mean, in some regards, it could work, it can make sense, and actually, it's been something that's been rumored before. Back right after Spider-Man Far From Home came out, there were rumors, reports that Sony was developing a Mysterio movie. And then that just ended up going nowhere, which is interesting because that came out alongside reports of a Kraven the Hunter movie. That Kraven the Hunter movie, of course, has actually come to fruition, and we're actually getting that releasing later this year. Mysterio just never ended up materializing. Now seems like they're trying to go back and do that once again, which again, like, there's potential for a Mysterio movie. A Mysterio movie could be kind of cool. But just what's the point? I mean, you already did a Mysterio as a main villain of a Spider-Man movie. You did a great Mysterio in that film with Far From Home. What more can you really do? And what would really warrant him having his own movie? And are they just going to turn him into another anti-hero? I would be so upset if they did that. I mean, I was upset in Marvel's Spider-Man 2 when Mysterio had redeemed himself and he was a hero there as well. So I really hope that's not the case, but I guess we'll see. Now we've got Dr. Octopus on the other hand, who again also will be getting a recasting. Alfred Molina will not return as Doc Ock, which this is the more obvious choice. You know, obviously he wouldn't come back, but supposedly he will be back as Doc Ock for Secret Wars, but post Secret Wars, and this is coming from a secondary source. So Caden Reed has heard this from at least two separate sources, but the secondary source, who he says is less reliable, and he doesn't know for a fact this is true, but he heard that Sony wants Hugh Dancy as Otto Octavius, aka Doc Ock. Now, Hugh Dancy, I don't know him. I haven't seen any of his work. I'm not familiar with him. Just looking at him, I don't think he really has the look of Doc Ock. I usually think of Doc Ock of being a bit of a thicker guy, and Hugh Dancy looks kind of skinny. But interestingly, though, the rumors for Spider-Man Freshman Year, the Marvel Studios animated series, which we thought was set in the MCU, but now is not because it's got a whole bunch of weird stuff going on there. But it is rumored that Hugh Dancy is going to voice Otto Octavius Doc Ock in that series. So if we get a live-action MCU Otto Octavius, that could be played by Hugh Dancy. Now, we'll have to wait and see on that, and that could be the connection between MCU and Sony. We'll see. And that, also going back to the Mysterio thing, maybe they won't have Jake Gyllenhaal, but it could still possibly be connected to the MCU because maybe that Quentin Beck is dead, but they bring in a new person to be Mysterio, or it's, I don't really know, but there's a lot that would have to be explained here. But a Doctor Octopus movie, I could see that more than a Mysterio film, because Doc Ock is a really interesting character, a really tragic character. And I feel like he probably could stand on his own. But again, I don't want Sony to take him and be like, oh, anti-hero now. No, keep him as a villain. But then again, one of his big interesting factors as a villain is he's an enemy of Spider-Man and his personal connection to Peter Parker and Spider-Man. So I don't really know how that would work. But it's interesting. I mean, this would at least get us closer to a Sinister Six, which we know Sony is so hell-bent on doing a Sinister Six movie, which, yeah, I want to see the Sinister Six in live action too, but I want to see it in one cohesive universe from an actual Spider-Man movie. Like, I want to see them actually fight a Spider-Man, probably, preferably Tom Holland Spider-Man. And, if they keep going with this, it's just a bit ridiculous. I mean, at least with this, it's a better lineup than what we were going with before. Hopefully this means we wouldn't have an El Muerto or Hypno Hustler on our Sinister Six. Here, at least it would be Doc Ock, Mysterio, Vulture, Kraven the Hunter, and maybe Venom and Morbius, which isn't great, but I mean, it's better than before. Maybe, I mean, there was rumors and still are rumors that Sony is developing a Sandman and Rhino movie. Rhino actually is going to be in Kraven the Hunter, so there's that. But there's been rumors of a Sandman and Rhino movie, both one singular movie of a Sandman and Rhino team-up movie, and then also separate Rhino movie and Sandman movie. So, I mean, that could be a Sinister Six. Honestly, pretty stellar lineup when it comes to just the characters there, but then when you look at these iterations that are being done in these Sony movies, it is not the best. But anyway, I mean, it's these are just rumors, so just take it as that for now. Don't take it as confirmation, but it's certainly interesting that this is a thing and that Sony has not learned from their mistakes. I mean, yeah, the first Venom movie made a bunch of money, but a lot of people still don't really care for it, and Sony needs to realize that this is not what we want. Like, we just want Spider-Man versus his villains. We don't want these villains getting their own spin-off films. I mean, Matt Reeves is doing the same thing over in the Batman universe with characters like Scarecrow and Professor Pig and Clayface getting their own solo movies, but that works. Those are actual, because those can be actual horror movies. These Spider-Man villains wouldn't work as horror movies. They have to be turned into anti-heroes for whatever Sony's big plan is, basically. Like, these don't really work as solo stories without Spider-Man, because a lot of these characters are specifically connected personally to Spider-Man. Most of them, some of them. I mean, Doc Ock specifically. And Venom, of course, as well. But with Batman villains, it kind of works. Here, just not so much. But anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about these reports? We are supposedly getting a Dr. Octopus movie and a Mysterio movie from Sony. Do you think it's a terrible idea, or do you think this could actually be maybe good? We'll see. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so you can keep up to date on everything that goes on in the Marvel life.